Ashley Martinson's life was marked by a series of traumatic experiences from a very young age. Born on March 6, 1998, Ashley entered a world that was far from nurturing. The household she grew up in was rife with instability and violence, which had a profound impact on her formative years and development. Ashley's early life was characterized by severe dysfunction within her family. She remained estranged from her biological father and lived with her mother, Jennifer Ayers, her stepfather, Thomas Ayers, two stepsisters, and a half-sister. The family dynamics were complex and often volatile, with Ashley and her siblings witnessing and experiencing various forms of abuse. The abuse Ashley faced was multifaceted. She was subjected to verbal abuse by her stepfather, Thomas Ayers, who also physically and verbally abused his wife and biological daughters. These incidents were not isolated, they were part of a consistent pattern of behavior that created an atmosphere of fear and control within the home. Ashley also disclosed that she had been physically abused and raped over a period of 2 years by a former boyfriend of her mother. This history of abuse contributed to a deep-seated trauma, which experts later believed led to her suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. Thomas Ayers, her stepfather, had a troubling past, with previous convictions for kidnapping, sexual assault, domestic abuse, and various other charges. Despite being legally forbidden from owning firearms, he kept a variety of loaded guns in the home, which were reportedly easily accessible. This disregard for the law and the presence of weapons further exacerbated the danger and unpredictability of Ashley's living situation. The constant exposure to such a toxic environment took a toll on Ashley's mental health. Doctors who interviewed her post-arrest concluded that she suffered from severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of the abuse she endured and witnessed, including her stepfather's abuse of animals. This relentless cycle of abuse and violence inevitably shaped Ashley's worldview and her responses to stress and conflict. The events of March 6, 2015, marked a critical turning point in the life of Ashley Martinson, a day that set in motion a series of tragic events. On this day, the eve of her 17th birthday, the already strained relationship between Ashley and her parents reached a breaking point. Ashley's parents discovered her clandestine relationship with Ryan Sisko, a man 5 years her senior. This discovery was not met with parental concern but with anger and punitive measures. The age difference between Ashley and Ryan was significant, especially considering Ashley's minor status, which raised legal concerns. In response to their discovery, Ashley's parents took immediate and harsh disciplinary action. They revoked her access to her car and phone, cutting off her means of communication and mobility. These actions were not just punitive but also isolating, further entrapping Ashley in an abusive environment from which she saw little escape. The situation escalated when Ashley's parents threatened to take legal action against Ryan Sisko. They considered his involvement with their underage daughter to be unlawful, and they were prepared to use the legal system to sever the relationship. This threat of legal action likely compounded the stress and fear Ashley was experiencing, as it put her relationship and Ryan's freedom at risk. The revocation of privileges and the threat of legal action against Ryan must have been deeply distressing for Ashley. It represented yet another instance of control and abuse in her life. The loss of her relationship with Ryan, who may have been a source of support and comfort, would have been a significant emotional blow. This event likely exacerbated her feelings of desperation and entrapment. The argument and its aftermath were a prelude to the horrific events that would unfold the following day. The tension and conflict within the household had reached a zenith, and the consequences would be deadly. On March 7, 2015, a day that was supposed to be a time of celebration following Ashley Martinson's 17th birthday, the atmosphere in the Martinson household in Peel, Wisconsin, was anything but festive. It was on this day that a harrowing and violent confrontation unfolded, leading to an irreversible tragedy. The day began with a palpable tension that had been brewing over time, stemming from the abusive dynamics within the family. The situation escalated rapidly, resulting in a violent encounter between Ashley and her stepfather, Thomas Ayers, followed by her mother, Jennifer Ayers. Ashley locked herself in her room with one of her stepfather's shotguns. Thomas Ayers went after her and tried to unlock the door, and by doing so, he was shot twice, once in the neck and once in the head, with the shotgun. The brutality of the act was stark, indicating a desperate attempt to end the confrontation. Shortly after, Jennifer Ayers was stabbed over 30 times in a frenzied attack. The excessive number of stab wounds suggests a release of pent-up rage and a loss of control during the heat of the moment. In the midst of this chaos, Ashley's younger siblings were found unharmed in the home. One of them, displaying courage in the face of fear, had called 911 to report the incident. The children informed the police that it was Ashley who had committed the murders before she fled the scene. This act of fleeing could be seen as a flight response, a reaction to the overwhelming situation that had just occurred. Before leaving, Ashley locked her younger siblings in a closet with a supply of food, a gesture that, despite the circumstances, showed a concern for their immediate well-being. This action also served to keep them away from the gruesome scene and may have been an attempt to protect them from further trauma. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you made it this far. On March 8, 2015, the day following the tragic events that transpired in the Martinson household, Ashley Martinson and her boyfriend, Ryan Sisko, were apprehended by law enforcement. Their arrest took place on Interstate 65 near Lebanon, which suggested that they were possibly en route to the residence of Ryan's parents. The capture of Ashley and Ryan was a direct consequence of a nationwide manhunt initiated after the discovery of the crime scene at the Martinson home. The authorities had been alerted to the possibility that Ashley was armed and dangerous, leading to a swift and coordinated response. Upon her arrest, Ashley faced severe legal charges. She was accused of 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide for the deaths of her stepfather, Thomas Ayers, and her mother, Jennifer Ayers. The charges reflected the premeditated nature of the crimes as determined by the legal system at that time. Additionally, Ashley was charged with 3 counts of false imprisonment, which related to her actions of locking her younger siblings in a room following the murders. Ryan Sisko, who was with Ashley at the time of the arrest, was not considered a suspect in the murders. There was no evidence to suggest his involvement in the planning or execution of the crimes. Consequently, he was released without charges, and his role in the case was limited to that of Ashley's companion at the time of her arrest. The arrest marked the beginning of a complex legal process for Ashley. The charges brought against her would lead to a trial where the details of her abusive past and the circumstances leading up to the murders would be scrutinized. The case would eventually conclude with Ashley pleading guilty to reduced charges of second-degree intentional homicide, resulting in a 23-year prison sentence. After Ashley Martinson's arrest for the murder of her parents, a disturbing aspect of her online persona came to light. She had been running a blog under the pseudonym Vampchick, where she expressed her fascination with death and the macabre through writings that carried sinister undertones. Obviously, this blog was made by her due to her past traumatic life and childhood, as she frequently posted her thoughts about what she feels, but this revelation sparked widespread public speculation about her motives for the killings, with some wondering if her interest in horror was a factor in her actions. During her trial, Ashley faced serious charges stemming from the brutal nature of the crimes. However, in a turn of events, she entered a plea of guilty to 2 counts of second-degree intentional homicide. This plea was part of a deal with prosecutors, who had initially sought a sentence of 40 years. The plea agreement acknowledged that the homicides were committed under the influence of adequate provocation, considering the abuse Ashley had suffered. Ashley was sentenced to 23 years in prison, to be followed by 17 years of extended supervision. This sentence took into account her history of abuse and the circumstances that led to the tragic events. The judge, while acknowledging the abuse, stated that it did not appear that Ashley's life was threatened at the time of the killings and emphasized that people are expected to be strong enough not to kill, even in abusive environments. While serving her sentence, Ashley's case continued to attract international attention. Experts who evaluated her believed that she suffered from severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of the years of physical, sexual, and psychological abuse she endured. These mental health issues were considered to have played a role in her actions and were a focal point in understanding the complexities of her case. The post-arrest period of the Ashley Martinson case revealed a troubled young woman who had lived a life filled with abuse and trauma. Her guilty plea and the subsequent sentence reflected a legal acknowledgement of the mitigating factors in her case. The ongoing discussion about her mental health during her incarceration highlights the need for a nuanced approach to cases involving individuals with a history of abuse. Ashley's story is a stark reminder of the long-lasting effects of domestic violence and the importance of addressing mental health within the criminal justice system. And make sure to subscribe till the next true crime case on this channel. Also, you can watch other cases that appear on screen.